Okay. Let's talk a little about role switching now. This is where things really start to move. First, let me remind you of the idea we learned about in an earlier theory section of the film. That is, that in dreamland, roles do not just belong to particular individuals, but are shared by everyone to some greater or lesser degree. Because of this, we can also switch roles when we notice our feelings moving from one position to another. Let me remind you of this with these images. In consensus reality, people are on one side or another, and particularly when there's conflict, the field usually feels very static. But in dreamland, when they begin to take roles, and even switch roles like this, the field becomes more fluid, and greater possibilities can arise. Actually, I should say that role switching happens all the time in life. We tend to shift from one feeling to another depending on what's happening. But it usually happens without our realizing it. However, if we use our awareness, we can role switch and experience this fluidity more consciously. Okay, do you remember that business group we spoke about in the last section on discovering roles? They had two roles concerning a new project. One role was excitement, and the other was fatigue.
I think you are using a very simple example for the sake of learning. But the basic principles can be, and have been, applied to all kinds of important and more serious social and historical issues. Is that right?
Yes, that's very right. Thanks for reminding me to say that.
Sure. No problem.
So, let's take a look at the example. They start by taking one side, and then some of them notice their feelings shift, and they begin to move to the other role and speak for it. You'll notice how the field becomes more fluid.
I'm still exhausted.
I'm still excited about this. But I understand you. I'm also pretty tired.
Yes, I'm also kind of excited and on your side. It might be fun to do another project.
I also notice that I'm changing, and feel excited now.
Could bring new energy. Why don't we give it a try?
Now I'm on your side.
On this side,
it might be
it could
fun.
really be creative.
I'm considering the whole thing again.
Yes, me too.
That's role switching. Of course, there are many ways you can do this. A movement-oriented group might use dance. Other groups might want to use sound or singing, story, or other methods. If you are working with a street situation, the methods will, of course, have to be adapted as well.
I think you should say more about why role switching is helpful.
Good question. Let me write some ideas on the board. As people begin to switch roles, the field becomes more fluid. The relationship between roles can develop more fully. The roles can deepen and often begin to transform. And then, there is greater chance for new types of resolutions.
And I think you are saying that, as people role switch, each person can begin to understand their roles, and feel more deeply into the situation.
Yes. This in itself can create a great deal of insight into the group process.
I think so.
Right. I remember an example in the theory section that showed that if someone in a group, or even a facilitator, is able to really feel into and express the various sides This can help the overall field deepen, and even potentially bring about new resolutions.
Yes, let's take a look at a part of that example once again. There were two roles. One role was feeling put down, and the other was critical and angry. We'll see how Sally Rue deepens and helps facilitate, by coming in and speaking more deeply, for each role, and moving back and forth between them.
And there's even more on the side that I haven't been able to express. You touched on something that is really hard for me.
That's right.
But I still feel upset. It still bothers me.
I know it's hard to be in your position sometimes. I guess I'm on your side now.
You're right. It's not always easy. Thanks for seeing that.
Thanks Sally Rue for demonstrating.
You are welcome.
Let me add that as the process unfolds, groups may sense that they may not only need resolutions to issues, but also more relationship with one another, and greater process and fluidity with their group field. We can't always role switch, but the ability to do it now and then. That is, to see that you are sometimes like the other person that you are in conflict with, can by itself help to make big changes in relationships, organizations, politics, and for our world's future. Okay. There are many other awareness methods that are helpful during group process. Let's move to the next section, where one of my colleagues will tell us about working with ghost roles in practice. Oh, but first, a couple friends want to say something about what they just learned. See you later.